Hi there. Should you writing library music or it's also known as production music in 2025? If that is a question that's on your mind at the moment and you're looking for some pros and cons and an answer, I don't know about an answer. I can't give you an answer, but I can certainly give you some things, food for thought. Then you're in exactly the right place. I'm making this video 6 years into my library music journey. So it's a sort of video I think I'd like to read watched if I was starting again 6 years ago, 6 years ago for me now. So I'm talking with the benefit of 6 years experience. I don't know all the answers to this. I don't have the big 10 or 20-year overview picture, overarching picture that some more experienced library music composers might have. But if you're wanting some advice and some help from somebody who's a few steps further ahead than you are maybe on the library journey, then this is the right place. So first of all, then, if you're asking, should you start writing music for libraries in 2020-25? First thing is, well, is there a market? Is it still a viable opportunity? Is there still demand? And I think the answer to that has to be currently yes, there is. In my experience, and I can only talk from my experience, over the last 5 years, my royalty payments from library music have consistently gone up on a year-by-year basis. I'm writing more tracks every year, but that also means or says to me that, you know, the market is buoyant and that there is money to be made and progress to be made there. The recent PRS payment, which is the royalty company that pays out royalties in the United Kingdom, reported a record high of royalties being paid this last quarter, which might be an indicator if you want to look at other indicators than looking at what the ASCAP payout or the BMI payout was in the United States might be really, really helpful. Are those payouts for the royalties going up, down, staying the same, or what? My absolute thought is that at the moment, with a certain caveat, which I'll come to in a minute, this is a totally viable thing to be doing in 2025 and to be starting in 2025 as well. There's a few things that might have been different, are a little bit different now than when I started 5 years ago, which I'll come to in a minute. So first thing. Second thing to say is, well, if you are thinking about this, well, the best time to have started writing for music libraries was 10 years ago. And I wish I had. I did start doing something similar 20 years ago and then got sidetracked. But yes, the best thing was to have started 10 years ago. But the second best thing is to start today. So if you are thinking about this journey, then procrastination in a way is the worst enemy. And you can overthink these things and, you know, check out statistics. But if you have an absolute burning desire in your heart to write music and to see your music placed on TVs and films and film trailers and things like that, if you have an absolute passion and desire to do that, then you need to start now. You start today. Don't wait for 2025, even if it was 2025 now. Get on with it and do it. And that is an important thing. So you ask yourself also, do you have that absolute ultimate passion and desire to do this? I've said this before, and I'll no doubt say it again in many videos. There are 1,000 different ways to make money more quickly, more efficiently, more easily, and to make more money than writing music for music libraries. So, you know, you have to be absolutely convinced that you are in this for... It's a lifestyle, really. From my point of view, it's a lifestyle decision. I have a relatively stress-free work from home life. I get paid royalties while I sleep. I get paid royalties if I fancy taking a week off. Having said that, you know, there are lots of pros and cons to working at home. You have to be really self-motivated. It's a real sort of strong mental game in those first years, particularly when you're not getting any money to keep going. But you have to be convinced that is the right thing for you. You have to be convinced that you have the absolute passion and drive to do it. So then come to your current position in 2025. Be realistic. You are not going to earn any money from music libraries for probably 2 to 3 years, even if you are writing essentially full time. Now, That was my experience. It's a common experience, but it's possible that you may get a really big placement really early on. But it's even if you do, it'll take a while for the money to come through. You're highly, highly unlikely to earn any money for the first year. And year 2, year 3, in my experience, was a gentle trickle of sort of getting more and more. But we're talking beer money here. We're not talking, enough to pay the rent or anything like that. That takes longer. In my experience, 4 to 5 years or so. Can you support yourself in 2025 financially whilst you put the time and effort into getting your stuff out there? I write 2 tracks per week and have done for the last 6 years. Seems like a reasonable speed to me. In the early days, that was a full-time job for me, getting my production level and getting 2 tracks a week up to the standard. Your production may be at a different standard to where I started from. You maybe have experience in other fields and be able to sort of get right up to that sort of standard straight away. However, even if you get your music accepted by a music library straight away, it will take them a month or several months probably to get it into their library. It may not be picked up by an editor or a programmer for several more months. It may not be aired for several more months or a year or more, and your payment may take several more months to come through as well. So in a way, you, in my opinion, need to have full-time work hours available but be prepared not to be paid for that. Now, I couldn't have done that in my early 20s and 30s. In my early 30s, I had a young family. I had to work full time. I did not have the time and energy to do that. So I know there are people that do work full time with families and they carve out time during the night, at weekends, early in the morning to do this. And my goodness me, I totally take my hat off to you, because that is a tough gig. If you feel you can do that, go for it, but it will not be easy, because it will, as I say, take a year, 2 years before you see any payoff for this at all. So the first thing then, that point is just about making sure that you have the financial background to do it. Also, you need the support of your family. You need somebody around you to help and support and just be with you on that journey, because it is a really, really tough one. My partner is an absolute powerhouse, and she was completely with me for the first 3 years of this and supported me through this when I was making no money and getting nowhere at all. That's not to say you have to be in a partnership to do this, but you need friends and family around you that will support you and will really, really push you on and keep you going. Okay, so that's your sort of personal situation to sort of work out whether or not you think it's the right thing to do. I'm looking at my notes down here. Right, what is your skill level? I alluded to this earlier on, and it links in with my next point, which is going to be about AI. What's your skill level now? Have a listen to music that's been placed on TV, but more usefully probably have a look at the high-level music libraries. Universal, Warner Chappell, for example. Have a listen, BMG, have a listen to the tracks in the genre that you are wanting to write in that are we've recently got into those libraries. Have a listen to some of their albums and do yourself an absolutely massive, hardcore, serious favour and put your tracks side by side and say to yourself, do my tracks add up to this? Do they sound as good or better than what I'm hearing? If they don't, then your journey is going to be longer, and you have to be honest with yourself. Getting your production level up to that sort of standard takes time. When you can do it, it doesn't take time, because you sort of know how you do it and you know what you're listening for. But at the outset, I found that a real uphill. It's a real uphill struggle to get there. Be honest with yourself. In 2025, are you going to be good enough production-wise to be putting in all of this time? It's possible that you might say, right, 30 tracks that aren't really a great standard, send them off to music libraries in the hope that you're going to get a reply and get them placed, but you just don't, and you've put in a huge amount of time and effort for sort of no reason. Would you be better going back to education? Would you be better doing some part-time learning? There's a huge number of online courses about music production, huge amount of stuff on YouTube. Would you be better spending 2025 getting your production chops up in your spare time and then making making the big sacrifice of time and energy in 2025 and start building your catalogue then? Food for thought. Okay, the other thing, just alluding back to time, is about consistency as well. So I'm sort of carrying on from where I was, I suppose. You can't write 10 tracks and then just sit and wait and see what happens and think you'll write another 10 tracks in 6 months. You've got to, for this, build. I've got 600 tracks in music libraries at the moment, and I've been doing this 6 years, so I'm writing 100 a year. That's 2 a week. In my opinion, that's a minimum. I think depends the sort of track you're writing, but for a start, you've got to get a quantity of tracks. But you've also, as I talked about earlier, you've got to have that quality as well. They've got to be really, really high level. And that's a massive challenge. You can't have one without the other. You can't have 10 amazing tracks because they're just not going to get seen. You're not going to get, and you can't have 1,000 rubbish tracks. That's not going to work either. You have to have a really, really good quality, and you have to consistently crank them out week after week after week after week after week. And you just have to keep on going. And that is a tough gig. Okay, the difficult thing, particularly about starting in 2025, I think, is the whole artificial intelligence issue. When I started, this wasn't an issue. And I think by default, when you start out, you will be writing lower quality tracks that loop, tracks that are underscore, tracks that find their way onto a sort of lower level reality shows. I've got so much stuff on really, really bizarre American reality shows, YouTube videos, stuff like that, even royalty-free stuff. That lower level, in my opinion, to my knowledge today, at the beginning of 2025, has basically died dead in the water. Because AI is essentially doing it. So if you are an editor and you're absolutely on a budget, then AI is the way that a lot of people are going. So the royalty-free market, to my understanding, is totally dead, which might have been before, where you'd have got your first sort of placements and maybe got your music into your first libraries. And that sort of music also, that in the box, mechanical, generic, sort of background music, which, let's be honest, a lot of us, myself included, wrote, particularly in the early days, and earned money from. I think that part of the market in 2025 is dying or is dead, which means that the bar to actually make a start and get higher up and get a foothold is higher. That means, you're probably going to have to be creating music that has some originality to it, is not generic, is a mishmash of genres, has some individual voice, has some live instrumentation in it, stuff that AI can't do. And I've been really lucky. It's taken me, as I say, 4 or 5 years to get to that stage. I've had that time to practice it. If you're starting this year in 2025, I think you have to go straight in there. And that's hard. And that also means going straight to the exclusive libraries, not to the royalty-free libraries, but going to the libraries that will represent your music exclusively. And I'll possibly do another video on that at some point as well in the future. Now, that's, I think that sounds quite negative. It sounds quite tough. However, on the plus side, there was a swamping of music producers started in the sort of COVID years, the early 20s. I think a lot of those have gone down and have tailed off. Also, I know at the moment, particularly both here and in the States, budgets for music, budgets for producing TV and film are, really low at the moment. Not great for custom work, but that does mean that people are looking to library music more than they are doing to maybe custom work, possibly. Don't know, that's just my personal thought. But we are in broadly speaking, an era of burgeoning production in terms of entertainment, of games. You can get stuff licensed in games, TV, film, video, etc., etc., etc. There are opportunities out there. And it becomes something of a as well as having the quantity and the quality, it becomes something of just sticking there and sticking at it. And as I say, I think the people that started in the early 2020s, have tailed off a lot of them now, which cuts out the competition, because this is a hard gig. It's a long gig. Do you know whether to start writing in 2025? I don't know. I hope that was helpful. And I don't want to be too disparaging, because, this is a wonderful thing to do, to earn money. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful way of life and lifestyle. It's a great thing, and the excitement of seeing your music on TV or in a film trailer or something like that, it's just amazing. It's so gratifying, and we get paid eventually for it as well. It just takes so long, so much time. I absolutely must, and I will try not to forget, put in the description some links to some channels that are far more mature than mine and have far more experience than I have. Jesse at Sync My Music is amazing for stuff on synchronization, syncing tunes, and library and production music, same sort of thing. 52Qs is also fantastic, and also Michael at Taxi is a really good starting point as well, I think, for information on getting going in the library world. I hope that was really helpful and has helped you make a decision. If you have questions, please get to me in the comments if you think I can help, because I'd really like to help if you think that I might be able to. And if you do decide to go for it, may 2025 be an amazing year for you. Thanks ever so much for watching. Bye bye.